where SOC2 made kind of, I think, the biggest impact in our conversations with clients is those clients who themselves are, SOC2 or ISO 27001 certified. For those groups, it's important that they have partners that live up to the same kind of rigor as they are living up to with their security standards. And for us, when we were having those kind of initial conversations to sort of plan out some work, it was a kind of simple question of like, hey, where are you in kind of your information security like posture and program? And it was like, oh yeah, we have, we can point to our SOC2 attestation. And that just was like, oh, great, let's move on. Like it just became it is a kind of a standard that's out there, and it's a known entity. So that meant that we didn't have to kind of dive into it further. It was just like, great, send over your report as part of procurement, and let's keep going. So it really meant that you kind of went from, just kind of focus on the work and a little less on some of the regulatory or the security elements around it, because we could just point to something that is in place. It's a standard that they can kind of just look at. So it made those conversations really, really easy. And again, let us kind of focus on the work at hand. And yeah, again, that's kind of, I think, the benefits of a standard like SOC 2. So there are those who are, SOC 2, they're following that path themselves, and having a trusted partner that is also, SOC 2, that's like just a very like easy match for like, our needs, their needs. Okay, we have that. Let's like continue the conversation. So that's definitely like one type. The second type is the client where the need for SOC 2 is maybe not evident right now, but they know they're going to need to grow into it. So, they're trying to get, they have a growth hypothesis, and they want to go after that. And they know if they're kind of successful there to get into that, target market, things like SOC 2 and other sort of elements are just like a must have. Otherwise, it's just a barrier to entry. So there's people who are like living it today who have like, we need this to just do business. There's clients who know in the future they will need it, and therefore having a partner who has that is important. And then I think the third bucket is clients who are going after a space where they themselves like could use SOC 2 as a differentiator. And this is kind of a more of a recent observation I've noticed, where there are SaaS like providers out there that will offer sort of like the Teams level kind of tier of their subscription. And then they'll offer the enterprise, and you get SOC 2, reports, access to their reports at that level. And I thought that was very interesting, because it's like, oh, they understand their market. They know for a certain team, this is not as important. But for an enterprise who needs to show for their critical vendors, do these vendors also have robust security postures, and then they can, get that SOC 2 report from them. That's really important. And that's a piece too that is, I think, very, very interesting, especially if you're going, more the B2B route, or just some areas where it's like, right now it's not blocking you, but it might in the future. So seeing some of these examples in the market of people using it as a differentiator, I thought was really, really exciting. Yeah, the tension points between innovation and compliance we felt that probably at first when we were, rolling things out and in the first couple months of doing things, living up to sort of these different standards. But once they were in place, I found it largely kind of faded into the background, because it became part of the normal processes. A lot of people out there, they try to automate and streamline as much of these things as possible, so that you don't kind of have the option to, you don't have to go back and clean something up. It's already there by default. It's just like, smart default. And that's been helpful, because I'd say the tension was noticed in the beginning, but it's really diminished over time. And then every time we kind of go through looking back and, doing a refresh on certain things, we'll often take, how has it gone since the last time we looked at it? What can be improved? And then try to kind of buff out any of those tension points. So that's been really helpful. I can think of a couple instances where it's just like the work got less over time because it was streamlined and, again, more automated. And at first, like what took hours, we can now get through in, say, 30 minutes, as part of the kind of ongoing kind of like hygiene pieces we need to do for the overall information security program. I think the biggest surprise in the journey has been as you kind of have more reps at it, you have a deeper understanding of kind of the spirit of some of these policies and the needs there. And the surprise was that we could actually change them. We could, author new versions where we add some clarification that was missing before, or, we step back and say, hey, for our business, this actually doesn't make sense. This is unnecessarily bureaucratic, or, we're not getting the value from this. So we've done that ourselves, where kind of on an annual basis, we've made some changes here and there, and they're not, huge or anything like that, but they've been, I think, streamlining kind of the overall process, making it easier to operate, but also getting more value from the overall kind of overall program, if you will. So I didn't think that's how it was going to be. I thought it was sort of, you set it and you kind of adapt as needed, but I didn't think you could kind of optimize as you go. And again, I think one of the early misconceptions we saw was this idea that it's like strictly an IT only activity. And the piece there, I'd say, is like, there's an IT element for operationalizing it, setting up the controls and the measures, but there's a big HR piece and a leadership piece as well. And if you don't have kind of buy-in or even time allocated from those different leaders, IT or technology can't do that themselves, because they're kind of setting policy for the whole company that everyone needs to live up to. Yeah, my advice on how to start thinking about it is really finding someone within your organization, or a partner who has gone through this experience themselves and who can provide kind of the context for you of like where you are in your goals as a business, and then can outline kind of what this will take. So if you don't have that person in-house, then I think finding a partner that will work with you. And there's the vendors out there that are selling security software, and they're helpful. Then there's the auditors that will do a SOC 2 audit for you. They're also kind of key players, but I think finding someone who's a bit kind of above that can see the bigger picture and provide you with kind of organizational, like contextual sort of guidance is really important. Some of those folks obviously exist within vendors or auditors as well. But that's a pretty important place to start if you kind of want to move quickly. The risk is that if your existing organizational capabilities is missing this, where no one has kind of done this or lived in those organizations. Again, it can be done. It's just going to be a longer path. So my suggestion is, if you can bring in a trusted partner to provide you some guidance, you're just going to get to the outcomes you need faster.